Hello everyone, I am Travis and this is Travis Travels. Today I want to take you to Kusatsu and walk you through an experience I recently had at the Kusatsu Spax Onsen Hotel. If you come to Japan, an onsen hotel is a must-have experience because it really truly lets you experience one of the best things that Japan has to offer. So if you skip on this, I think really you're doing yourself a disservice and depriving yourself of one of the great pleasures of life. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how you get there, how you get to the hotel from Tokyo, where most visitors depart, and then I will walk you through the experience from check-in to check-out, and finally I will rate various aspects of the stay, such as the room environment, the quality of the onsen, and of course the quality of the food, and then finally the surroundings around the hotel. So I will give you my unadulterated, unvarnished, unbridled opinion about this hotel. So get ready for a big dose of... So how do you get to Spax Kusatsu? It is an onsen hotel located in Kusatsu, which is a very famous onsen town in central Japan, northwest of Tokyo. So Kusatsu, along with Arima near Kobe and Gero north of Nagoya, together they make up the three most famous onsen hotels in the island of Kyushu. So Kusatsu is really a destination, but primarily for Japanese people because it is not readily accessible, meaning it takes at least 3 hours to get there. So it's not the easiest place to get to. However, if it were, then it would be thronged with people. Perhaps it wouldn't be such a pleasant experience. Okay, so how do we get there? Of course, you get there by train, and there are really 3 major options. And then I'll tell you my preferred one. So one option is to take the Shinkansen, aka bullet train, and you can take either the Joetsu line or the Hokuriku line to Takasaki, and then you take a local train from Takasaki to Naganohara Kusatsuguchi, and then you take a bus. So this whole journey takes about more or less 3 hours. Now, you can also take the Shinkansen Hokuriku line from Tokyo Station to Karuizawa, and then take a bus about an hour and a half from there to Kusatsu. So for my preferred option, which is the 3rd option, and that is to take the Kusatsu #1 Express from Ueno Station, which is just north of Tokyo Station on the Yamanote line, and it takes you all the way to Naganohara Kusatsuguchi. It's a straight shot, you don't need to make any connections. You will find the buses leaving from that station for Kusatsu are perfectly timed with the arrival of the Kusatsu #1 train. So when we got off the train, there were 4 or 5 buses waiting for everyone. And so we basically went from the train directly to the bus with no waiting in between. So it was a perfectly coordinated affair. And then we were on our way to the final destination, which took about 30 to 40 minutes. When you get to Kusatsu bus terminal, you have 2 options. One is to walk to the hotel, which is about 10 to 15 minutes, depending which route you take. We actually took the long route via the city center, and therefore it took slightly longer. But if you have a lot of luggage, I recommend that you call them and they will pick you up. It's a complimentary shuttle. So once you get to the hotel, so you are shown to a comfortable chair, and then you are brought a tray of refreshments, including hot tea and a dessert. So while you're being refreshed, a representative will approach you and schedule your dinner or breakfast. So let me just step back and talk about the pricing. So how does pricing work? It's going to be slightly more expensive than a regular hotel, but you get a lot but you get a lot of bang for your buck, because the stay does include not only the hot spring but also meals, and they're very and the meals kind of represent a type of high cuisine called Kaiseki meal. It's a multi-course affair that really presents you with the best of what the locality has to offer. Everything is seasonal, local, and most importantly, fresh. So I'll get to the food in a minute. So don't rush me. Don't rush me. So you can stay in an onsen hotel without the food package. Okay, that's allowed, and you pay proportionately less. However, why would you? If you're a visitor and you're in Japan, once every few years, and especially if you have never experienced onsen hotel before, you really don't want to skip the meals, because for me and many other people, that's really one of the highlights, if not the highlight of the stay. So you definitely want to experience it, especially if you haven't. So you get a flat rate, you get a base price just for the hotel room and onsen. You add an incremental cost if you want dinner, and then more if you want breakfast, and then more if you want a bigger room. So the rooms are measured in terms of the number of tatami mats. Okay, so one tatami mat is about let me get this right for you. It's about 1.6 square meter, which is around 17.4 square feet. So the room I stayed in was 12 tatami mats, which is about 200 square feet, give or take. So that is somewhat smaller than a regular US hotel room, I would say. But I think up to three people can stay in it perfectly comfortably. But any more than that, you're kind of pushing it. I paid around $200 for the whole stay, everything included. But I did book through Rakuten, which is the most popular online hotel booking service in Japan. You can also book via booking.com, which from what I can gather is very popular as well in Japan. So because I booked through Rakuten, they gave me a 10% discount, so it ended up around $200. All right, so now let's continue with the hotel experience. So if you recall, I had just checked in, I'm in the comfy chair, consuming the refreshment and scheduling the night's events. So the service personnel asked me when I wanted to eat dinner, and also when I wanted to eat breakfast the next day. And after that exchange, I was given the key to my room. Now, so once you walk through the front door, you have a little area where you can put your luggage and shoes, and then step into the entrance area where you've got your toilet, bathroom, and sink area. And then you open a sliding door, and that reveals the actual room where it is covered in tatami mats. In this case, 12 tatami mats. So the room, when you enter, is set up like a living room, but later at night, hotel staff will come to your room and convert it into a bedroom, as you'll see in a minute. So the room is very simple and minimalist. And by the way, you can also choose to stay in a Western style room. So on the left, you've got a cupboard with bedding and futons, which the hotel staff will use later to prepare your beds. And then you have another cupboard where you're having clothes. And here is a area for decorations. You're not supposed to put your luggage here, I've been told. And then there is a sunroom or a balcony area, which can be divided from the rest of the room with a sliding screen door. So this room is where you drink tea and enjoy the scenery. And I believe every room has a view. So here we can see the town center below, the mountains in the distance, and then another onsen hotel just down the hill. So recall they schedule your dinner time at check-in, and while you are at dinner, they send staff members to your room to make up your bed. Now, which is really a seamless process. So as soon as you finish dinner, you walk back to your room, and the room has been magically transformed from a living room into a bedroom. So the bedding that they use, let me just clarify what it is. In a traditional Japanese room, you don't have a mattress per se. It's not a spring mattress or a foam mattress. It's a futon. Over the futon, they have a comforter made out of down, and I have to say it's one of the fluffiest, lightest comforters I've ever had the pleasure to sleep under. They must air it. They must air the hell out of it. So one of the reasons why Kusatsu is as popular as it is, especially with Japanese people, is that it gets the amount of hot spring water coming out of the ground in Kusatsu is more than anywhere else in Japan. So I'm talking about the quantity of water that gushes from the ground. So when the water emerges from the ground, it's about 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's obviously too hot to bathe in. So they cool it somehow, and then when the water reaches the onsen in the hotels, it is 40 degrees Celsius, which is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is about the same temperature as a jacuzzi stateside. Now the onsen area, it's going to be separated by gender, and they actually do switch it around every day. So in the onsen, of course you find the right entrance for your gender. And now, so if you're gonna learn any kanji characters when you go to Japan, it should be male and female, and that will help you to avoid any kind of embarrassment. So once you enter the onsen, you'll see a changing room. Okay, they don't have lockers, okay, but they do have baskets where you can put your clothes and towels. So Japanese onsens, you have to be completely nude. Okay, you can't wear any clothing into the onsen, and you can't take your towel into the onsen either. So everything must go into the basket except that little hand towel that you got from your room. And incidentally, There is a towel for every occupant in the hotel room. You bring that with you to the onsen. So there's a towel and then there's a hand towel. And now you can walk around in your normal street clothing. I think that's fine. I've seen others do it. But I think people usually change into the traditional clothing that's provided in your room. So you have a like a traditional cloak that you put in and tie together with a sash, and then if you're cold, you can put a vest over it. And most people wear that around the hotel. So take all that off, put them into the basket, and then sally forth into the onsen area. So once you're in the onsen, you have to wash yourself first. You can't just dive headfirst into the hot spring pool. So as you can see, you've got several washing stations, and you basically just soak yourself, make sure you're completely wet, and then go into the pool. Now there is a cold water pool right next to it, and I mean, I don't know exactly the temperature, but it was very cold. It was ice cold water, and it's supposed to be good for you to first dip in cold water and then dip in hot water. It exercises your nerves somehow. I wasn't able to muster enough courage to do that, so I just went straight for the hot pool, which was very comfortable, very relaxing. But usually I think people stay in there for 10 to 20 minutes and they get out. It's not somewhere where you want to stay for too long, because it is very hot and you'll be sweating. And incidentally, one of the reasons why Kusatsu is famous is because its waters have a lot of mineral content, and it's supposed to be very good for all kinds of ailments, and supposedly it can cure everything except lovesick. So there you are. Okay, so that is the onsen, and then after you soak yourself and you're completely relaxed, you go and wash yourself off, and they have bathing products that they're provided by Shiseido. So they're very, very good. It's very complete. You got shampoo, conditioner, wash soap, basically the lot. And then they have more products in the changing room, where you can blow dry your hair and apply all kinds of moisturizers and face wash. So and a lot of that is also in your hotel room. Now let's talk about dinner. All right, so for dinner, it's multi-course affair, and the first course is made up of cold food. So you've got, well, first of all, you have to start. Now, they didn't really tell us how to begin or in what order to eat the food. That's really determined by the menu. If you follow the menu, then you know what time it is. But because I don't read Japanese, I had a little trouble following the order of events, in which case just eat whatever you want, however you want. Nobody really cares. Now, but you do want to start with the sweet wine to open your palates, and then you move on to the first plate, which has a preserved fish and preserved or fermented fish, I think, and then you have duck, and then some kind of another fish concoction, and then you move on to some other fermented dishes, pickled vegetables, and then of course they also have a small plate of sashimi, which was very fresh and very tender. with this tofu dish. It was tofu infused with walnut, and it was very sticky, very tender, and the texture, the taste was really on the spot. That's one of the highlights for me. And then the next course. Well, so while you're eating, they actually start heating the mushroom soup, and so when you get to that course, it's ready to eat, and that was a good touch because you know, all the while you can smell it, and so you're anticipating it, and your mouth is salivating at the thought of it. So then the next course is hot food. So you have this seafood consomme with prawns and another fish concoction inside. And then you have a beef dish. It's grilled beef cooked to medium. And they did drench it in some kind of a garlic sauce, which made it a little lukewarm. I think it would have been perfectly fine without it. And the beef was very soft, very tender, but I think the garlic sauce did subtract from the impact of that dish. Now, finally, you get to the mushroom soup, which has like a dozen different types of mushroom and fungi inside. And then you have a fish dish. I think it's some kind of a cod. At least it tasted like a cod. And it's drizzled with fish roe. And then finally, the dessert dish is a cross between yogurt and a flan with matcha syrup, and then a little bit of cream on top. It was very good and a fitting end to an excellent meal. The next day, we had an early breakfast because we needed to leave Kusatsu, unfortunately, very early in the morning. So we scheduled it for 7 a.m. And when we got to the restaurant, the breakfast was already set up. So unlike dinner, they won't bring out course after course for breakfast. They pretty much lay everything in front of you. So sometimes in an onsen hotel, they bring the food to your room. But sometimes you have to go to the restaurant where there's a designated table for you. So in this case, we went to the restaurant for both dinner and breakfast. And they had a bowl of oden. It's basically vegetable that's been simmering in a broth. I believe that's called oden. And then they have tofu and rice, and of course, and then they had a dish of one piece of very thinly sliced beef with some vegetables. I wish they had more of that beef because that was very good. So how do I rate the hotel experience? Well, let me separate the various aspects and give each one an individual rating, and then I'll average the ratings for a total final score. So the onsen itself, you know, the pool and then the bathing area, the changing room, I think it's compared to my previous experiences, I thought it was very good. The equipment and the bathing products were all very complete. Onsen itself is very well maintained. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience the outdoor onsen, but if I had done so, I probably would have enjoyed it even more. So I would give the onsen a score of 8 out of 10. Now the room itself, it had good Wi-Fi connection. There is enough room for our luggage, but if you have a lot of luggage, you might have trouble. You might need a bigger room. But all in all, it was in pretty good working order. The room was well maintained, well cleaned, and well supplied. So the room, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. Now the food, so for me, high-end dining is sometimes a crapshoot, because even though the food might look very good, the taste is sometimes lacking. And in this case, the food was colorful, it was nice, it was plated tastefully, but the taste was not entirely agreeable, simply because the cold dishes outnumbered the hot ones, and there were a lot of raw seafood. So it's a matter of personal opinion, but for me, the food was not as tasty as I had wanted. So I would give the food a 7 out of 10. Let me just remark on the food. Even though I gave it a 7 out of 10, it is still very good food, because we're talking about haute cuisine in Japan. This is the highest form of cuisine in Japan, and I'm really comparing it to other onsen hotel dining experiences I've had in the past. So this time it was just average, maybe slightly below. But compared to a normal restaurant, an everyday dining experience, I mean, it's for sure a 9 out of 10. But compared to other onsen hotel dining experiences, it is a 7 out of 10. And then the surrounding area really was a highlight for me. Just the proximity to the park next door and the ethereal quality that the park brought. It was really quite an experience. So that I give a 9 out of 10. So if you add up all these scores, my aggregate score for the Spax Kusatsu Onsen Hotel is an 8 out of 10. And there you are. So on the whole, I would recommend it. I think it is a good hotel. The service was impeccable. So if you have any questions about the Spax Hotel specifically, or about onsen hotels or Kusatsu in general, let me know in the comments below, and I will try to answer them as clearly, as completely, and as honestly as I can. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, maybe learned something you didn't know before. And until next time, goodbye. So if you enjoyed this video, you might want to check out my other video about another onsen hotel experience that I had very recently in Gero, Japan, which is between Toyama and Nagoya. And Gero is another very famous onsen town. So be sure to check that out if you are so inclined.